we've seen a huge improvement to the defense. But other than that, I think also the small ball plays have really been showing through and has been helping this team reach a lot of success. I think it did start with the last time the Big Train saw the Giants. We saw them go for more of those bunting attempts, and it was giving them a lot of success up until the very end of the game where the Giants got the best of them with the same bunting strategy. But then we started to see this team really go for those small ball plays and really focus more on their own game, putting the person behind them in a more advantageous situation. We don't see those huge swing for the fences, although we have seen some players get some home runs like Landon Franklin. But I think those small ball plays have what's been really contributing to the Big Train's success these last couple of days.
I will say the Kentucky Wildcats, who Landon Franklin hails from, could have used that home run ability as they were dominated earlier today 15-4 in an elimination game against Florida. We'll talk more about that later, but tonight should be a really fun one between two teams in the North Division who are just separated by a game. The Big Train at 7-7, the Gaithersburg Giants at 8-6. As you said, the Giants getting the best of the Big Train last time in Gaithersburg when Danny Sheeler, who is starting at first base once again tonight for the Giants, walked it off with a 2 RBI single off of Max Martsolf, who then avenged himself later against the T-Bolts in another clutch situation. But I have to say something else, actually two things. One, it's hot. It is really hot here in Bethesda, Maryland. If you see us glistening throughout the broadcast, that is because we are sweating a lot. Phoebe worked camp earlier today, so you've been out in the sun a lot. Can you tell people just
the sunburn working on my forehead now?
just how toasty it is outside?
Yeah, we're up in the high 90s today, so I think on the field you're going to see a lot of fatigued players. I think that's going to play a huge role in tonight's game with that hot sun at the beginning of the game until it sets around 8 p.m. But I think in the early half of that game, that's really going to play a factor just with the heat. And it's not a humidity kind of heat. It's a really dry heat. So hopefully the players are staying hydrated. I saw they had 2 coolers above the dugout tonight, so hopefully they're getting enough water. But this heat is just kind of unbearable. I am physically melting as we sit here.
Well, I hope you don't melt fully because I kind of need a broadcast partner tonight. But on a more serious note, tonight is a very special night here at Shirley Povich Field. It is the Juneteenth Classic, celebrating Juneteenth as well as arguably the state of Maryland's best Negro League baseball player in Clarence Israel, better known as Pint. We each got one of his baseball cards, which I'm going to show here. Look at that beauty. Clarence Pint Israel playing for the Newark Eagles, and their jerseys actually being emulated by the Scotland Eagles, which is a community that is not too far away here from Shirley Povich Field. They don't play baseball anymore, but they did for a very long time. Several members were honored before the game, and again, these are the jerseys that the Big Train are going to wear. The Eagles, the team name, they derive it from the Newark Eagles, who played in the Negro Leagues way back when, were actually the 1946 Negro League champions, their only championship appearance 2 years before the league eventually folded. And then another thing, yesterday, Willie Mays, arguably the greatest baseball player that has ever touched a Major League diamond, passed at the age of 93. It rocked the baseball world, although it wasn't unexpected. Willie lived until he was 93 years old. I will give a warning to our viewers. We will be talking a lot of baseball history tonight. We are going to have a couple of players on the broadcast talking about Willie Mays, and I'll spoil one of them, Jake Villar, who is from Northern California and grew up a Giants fan. He will be one of the two on the broadcast tonight talking about the impact that Mays had on him and his Giants fandom in general, but we feel like it would be malpractice not to mention those two things, and while it is our job to talk about the Big Train, that's why we were hired, that's what we have been talking about for these first 14 games. That is what we will talk about tonight, and that is what we will talk about for the rest of the season into late July. But tonight will be unlike any other night. And again, we would feel bad in this position if we mentioned Willie and Clarence and the Negro League simply in passing. So tonight will be chock full of baseball history. If you like that, great. If you don't, I don't really know what else to tell you. We'll be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network with the start of this game between the Giants and the Big Train.
watching you when you leave. Something new. Keep hoping you feel this too. Holding on and on and on and on. Hoping I can get to know you better. Living in sweet suburbia. Some fun is all we want. Two kids come alive in a night rush. I'll be the girl next door. You be my summer crush. Yeah, I think you should come and pick me up. 'Cause nothing feels as good as summer love. Move so fast. Here's hoping this night will last. Just let go. We're spinning with our eyes closed. Holding on and on and on and on. Hoping I can get to know you better.
Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network as we're set to start this midweek contest between the Gaithersburg Giants and the Bethesda Big Train. And Phoebe, how fitting is it the day after the passing of Willie Mays that we get to call a game where one of the teams featured is the exact same team name as the one Mays starred for over 20 years.
I think it's just a crazy work of fate and coincidence there. I mean, obviously we've seen the Gaithersburg Giants a couple times already this season, but to be able to talk about the great Willie Mays on the broadcast in such a relevant way is just truly incredible.
Mays, a storied major leaguer, played from 1948 to 1973, took some time off to go fight in the Korean War, but played most of his career for the New York, eventually San Francisco Giants, was a 24-time All-Star. Only the great Stan Musial and Henry Aaron have as many All-Star appearances as Willie Mays. Also won 12 Gold Gloves. Only Roberto Clemente, whose number is retired here at Shirley Povich Field, has as many Gold Gloves in the outfield as Willie Mays. A huge part of the Giants' 1954 World Series title team, which included one of the most famous plays in baseball history, known as the catch. A ball hit off the bat of Cleveland's Vic Wertz, sending him all the way back into deep center field at Polo Grounds, and Willie Mays making the over-the-shoulder basket catch. One of the most prominent images in not just baseball history, but sports history. And I am very excited to be given this opportunity to talk about a great one on a night like this, where it's not only Clarence Israel being honored, but it's the entirety of the Negro Leagues, which Willie Mays started his professional career in. Again, was a part of the Birmingham Black Barons. He was a hometown kid. Was a part of the team that made it to the final Negro League World Series in 1948. Although the Black Barons fell to the Homestead Grays, who throughout their time in the Negro Leagues, and whose name is also shared by another team in this league, the DC Grays, they won 9 consecutive league championships and 3 Negro League championships, including that one in 1948. But as we've talked about many times, the Ripken League is just so filled with history, and I'm not sure we're going to get more of it than tonight. So on the hill for the Big Train today, we haven't seen him in a little while, but he is one of the better arms amongst the Big Train pitching staff. It's Brandon Cassidy, who's been a star at Christopher Newport, but will be looking for a new home this fall. Could definitely boost his stock today with a solid performance against the Giants, who lead the Big Train by a game in the North Division.
That's right. We've seen Cassidy start once before for the Big Train, and he's come in as a reliever a few times. Played with the Big Train last summer, picking up Pitcher of the Year award for the Cal Ripken League, as you mentioned. Has earned himself a spot as a Saturday starter for CNU, which as an underclassman is a huge accomplishment. He's an incredible arm.
As the first pitch to Brady Powell is high for a ball. Now, Phoebe, I was re-watching the catch last night and into this morning, and there are a few things that, at least to me, make it so incredible as Powell will look at the second pitch for a strike. One is, as I mentioned, the funky dimensions of the Polo Grounds where the New York Giants played until they moved to San Francisco in the late 1950s. The center field wall was about 483 feet away from home plate. As Powell will line that one to the second baseman, Franklin. A nice backhand stab for out number one.
Ken Franklin playing second base tonight, as you just mentioned. We've typically seen him in the shortstop role, but tonight we've got a newcomer in the Big Train lineup. It's Michael Lombardi, a rising junior at Tulane.
And no, that is not the Michael Lombardi, the NFL executive. That is Mike Lombardi, the rising junior at Tulane, making his first appearance for the Big Train, starting at shortstop. As the first pitch to Danny Sheeler is skied into shallow right field, and Davin Whitaker's under it for out number two. So the hero from the last time these two teams met is retired early. That'll bring up the catcher Brandon Kleiman from Eastern Michigan. But Mays had to range all the way back. Again, a 483-foot center field fence. That ball from Vic Wirtz is probably a homer at 99% of other MLB parks. But Mays had to cover so much ground. And the kind of catch he made is a lot harder than it looks. I'd consider a basket catch in baseball similar to a floater in basketball. It doesn't look hard from the outside, but when you actually attempt it yourself, it is an awfully difficult task, as that one's skied out into left center field. Under it is Williamson, and he's got it for out number three. So a quick first inning from Cassidy. The Big Train have a new 1-2-3 due up in the bottom half of the inning. We'll be back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park. As Brandon Cassidy worked through the top of the first inning awfully quickly, and now the Big Train will get their first chance to bat, facing Jai Sample. Only an inning and 2/3 so far this summer. Has been tagged a good bit, allowed 7 runs, 4 of them earned. Looking for a bounce-back performance here against the Big Train.
Sample, a right-handed pitcher and rising sophomore at the College of Central Florida, He hails from Salisbury, Maryland. Now, he has redshirted his freshman season, and he's looking for a new home in the fall. Perfect Game USA ranked him the number 2 right-handed pitcher out of Maryland and number 10 overall player from the state.
Now, I must say, Sample has one of the most diverse and dangerous pitching arsenals in this entire league. Has a fastball that tops out around 96 miles an hour, a changeup that tops out in the high 80s, a slider that tops out in the mid 80s, and a sinker that has topped out at 93 miles an hour.
I'm surprised you didn't say he has a large sample to choose from.
Good call. Very, very good call. And so the first batter for the big train today is Jordan Crosland, who is actually in the designated hitter spot for the first time this season. Has played mostly in the middle infield, although he's been partial to second base, but getting the night off from fielding as Lombardi and Landon Franklin will man the middle infield as that first pitch is hit high into foul territory. Ranging over is Sheeler, and he cannot make the catch in the gravel.
So we mentioned a couple of nights ago Crosland being bounced around the lineup a bit. Now we see him at the leadoff hitter position yet again. A very flexible player. He can be placed towards the bottom of the lineup as we've seen him a few days ago in the middle of the lineup. Now resuming his position at the top of the lineup. But he's a very flexible hitter, can create good plays and build off of momentum.
That ball taken outside, just to round out the Mays catch. The other incredible part of it was the throw back into the infield. One of the things that many baseball historians and people that either watched him or played with him will say about Willie Mays is that he was so unbelievably smart. His baseball intelligence was off the charts. It could not be contained. Bring up the center fielder, Andrew Williamson. Looking at baseball, Bobby Thompson, the shot heard round the world, with Willie Mays on deck to win the New York Giants the pennant. They get more specific nicknames. But some of the greatest plays in sport get something like the catch, where it's something that happens so often in a game. That was the best of the hundreds of thousands of times that action has happened. You think about the catch. You think about the shot Michael Jordan hit against the Cleveland Cavaliers. You think about the play, California versus Stanford, when the band ran out on the field. As the count goes to 2-0 on Williamson, there have been millions of shots, millions of plays, millions of catches, but those were the pinnacle of those plays, which is awfully impressive as Andrew Williamson tattoos one up the middle for a base hit. So the UCF product, whose bat has been white hot to start the summer, putting himself on base with one out here in the bottom of the first for Davin Whitaker. And as I peer over the press box here, it is amazing to see the Hubert V. Simmons Museum exhibit, which is spanning about 5 tables down by the Miller and Long grandstand. Talk about history. There is just so much of it down there. As Williamson takes off for second, the throw is in time. So a nice throw by Kleiman from the backstop to gun down the speedy Williamson. And now there are 2 outs here in the bottom of the first inning.
You mentioned the history. I mean, the memorabilia down there behind the grandstand is just incredible to look at. There's so much history there.
As Whitaker gets plunked, he'll head over to first with 2 outs. Bringing up the shortstop, Mike Lombardi. As we said, making his first appearance of the summer for the Big Train, a late addition to the squad, but figures to make a big impact.
Now batting shortstop number 25, Michael Lombardi.
First pitch to Lombardi's outside for a ball. Now, obviously, it is very sad that not only Willie Mays passed, but it was just 2 days before Major League Baseball was set to play its first game at Rickwood Field in his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama, which is tomorrow between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Francisco Giants. But in another sense, they now get to truly honor his legacy and everything he meant to not just Birmingham, Alabama, but the game of baseball. It was very emotional yesterday to see the baseball world react to his passing. I was watching the Orioles-Yankees game on MLB Network, and Bob Costas, I was hanging on his every word as he told stories of Willie Mays, especially after the game when him and Tom Verducci, as well as others, had discussions about Mays, which will have to be postponed until the next half inning, as Kleiman nails his second runner of the inning, although it looks like Whitaker is going to be safe. And taking first is going to be Mike Lombardi.
Must have been some potential interference on that play.
So the throw down by Kleiman was for naught the second the pitch crossed the plate, as ball 4 was called. So that'll bring up the first baseman, Matthew Westley, who broke his bat and will need a new one. But I was very excited to hear that the major leagues would be going to Rickwood Field. That is the oldest ballpark in America, beating Fenway Park by 2 years, being built in 1910. The home to the Birmingham Black Barons. As the 0-1 to Wesley's outside. And although there are so many stats that do a decent job of explaining how good Willie Mays was, it's not everything. And that was something I thought Bob Costas did a really wonderful job of explaining, along with Tom Verducci and Ken Griffey Jr., as well as Harold Reynolds on the MLB Network broadcast after the Yankees game. Bob Costas said Willie Mays wasn't just great, he was wondrous. Ken Griffey Jr. called him the godfather of center fielders. ESPN's Tim Kirkjian, who grew up around here, said that Willie Mays was the greatest combination of power, speed, and defense he had ever seen. Led the league in home runs and stolen bases multiple times. And was an absolute wizard in center field. There are a handful of plays where, if you take out the circumstances, the catch might not even be in the top 5. So the count now full on Matthew Westley with 2 outs and runners on first and second. Waiting on deck is the left fielder, Christopher Diaz.
Diaz played with Michael Lombardi this past spring.
That one's popped up way into shallow center field. And under it is Leighton Lackey for out number 3. So the big train strand 2. Still scoreless here from Shirley Povich Fields. We'll be back with the top of the second here on Big Train Baseball Network.
Ride that boogie train till the sun comes up.
Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network. A scoreless first inning for both teams as we're set to start the top of the second with the left fielder Aiden Robbins.
Aiden Robbins, a rising sophomore at Seton Hall University.
As the Pirate pillages that one into right field for a base hit. So Cassidy jamming Robbins a bit on the first offering, but he's able to catch up to it and put it into right field for a single, bringing up the third baseman Danny Wyatt. Wyatt only has 8 at-bats heading into tonight, but he's gotten a hit in 3 of them as the pickoff attempt sends Robbins back to first.
Wyatt, a rising sophomore at University of Maryland, Baltimore College, hails from Cochranville, Pennsylvania.
That one's lined into right field for a base hit. So as the great Yogi Berra once put it, it's deja vu all over again. Almost the exact same hit into the exact same place, bringing up the designated hitter Tyler DiMartino. Hailing from Walt Whitman High School, the only Viking in the CRS CBL this season. He has officially made the rounds in the Midwest, started his college career at West Virginia, then went to Xavier and recently transferred to Indiana for his final collegiate season, as the first pitch from Cassidy is outside for a ball. DiMartino was a part of the 2019 Whitman team that made it to state semifinals. Unfortunately lost to Old Mill in a thriller that was played here at Shirley Povich Field. Another off speed from Cassidy's outside for ball 2. So Cassidy looking to avert early trouble. Already might be in a little bit of it here. The 2-0 pitch is in there for a strike. The 2-1 pitch is lined fair down the right field line. Robbins is around third. He will score easily as DiMartino slides into second with an RBI double. And the Giants strike first here in the top of the second inning.
So the Giants absolutely nailing that right field. We saw 1, 2, 3 hit it over into that exact same spot. Now we saw this the last time the Big Train and the Giants faced each other. Once they saw one style of play work, they went after it again and again because, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We saw them towards the end of the game using the bunt again and again because they saw it had some success and that ultimately earned them the victory over the Big Train in the bottom of the 9th inning. Now here we see them nailing that right field because they're seeing success there.
Now yesterday was Taco Tuesday, but a lot of Oppo tacos here from the Giants. That's 3 now here in the top of the second to help them strike first. A.J. Martin, the shortstop, stepping up to the plate. As that pitch is fouled off out of play. DiMartino in a little bit of a Willie Mays era, ending up at second on a ball that wasn't hit very far. Now as I look down on the concourse, I see a couple of Kansas City Monarchs jerseys. Another member of the Negro Leagues. They actually fell to the Newark Eagles in that 1946 League Championship Series. The one that Clarence Israel was a part of. As a current college student in the state of Missouri, I feel I'd be missing out if I didn't get myself down to Kansas City, where the Negro League Baseball Museum is located. 0-2 to Martins, fouled off.
And as you mentioned earlier, we do have a small part of history and an exhibition of the Negro Lead here on the concourse at Shirley Povich Field to celebrate our Juneteenth Classic. More celebrations to come later in the evening. Set to have fireworks erupt over Shirley Povich Field tonight, as there's more celebrations being had over at Cabin John.
That one's lined into center field for a base hit. So a few early fireworks from the Giants as A.J. Martin plates the second run of the game for Gaithersburg.
Now batting at right field, number 25.
The Giants putting up an early lead, and they still have players in scoring position. We've seen this from them before. They strike back. They strike early on. So it'll be up to the big train to battle back again and again. We've seen them do it before. Hoping to see them do it again here tonight. But again, I think that heat is really just a huge factor here tonight. It's so dry and just constant heat. Players are going to have to stay very hydrated, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of fatigue and slower running.
Well, you also might see baseballs traveling further, which we have seen a good bit of here in this half inning. As the 0-1 is lined into right field, and Whitaker took a bad angle on it. That one gets over his head, scoring the third run of the game for the Giants. Here comes another runner around third. He will score. The throw to third base is in time for an out. So great defense from the big train to get Landon Runyon at third, but not before the Giants played another two. They lead 4-0.
Now batting the center fielder, number 0, Leighton Lackey.
That'll bring up the 9-hitter, the center fielder Leighton Lackey from Clemson. One of the teams that Florida has eliminated on their unexpected run here throughout the College World Series. The Tigers being eliminated by the Gators in Super Regionals. And Florida earlier today dominating Kentucky 15-4 to end what was a sensational season for the Wildcats. And Florida is set to play Texas A&M in about 25 minutes.
And around the Cal Ripken League, top of the 7th inning between the T-Bolts and the Crop Dusters. Crop Dusters leading 5-0. Bottom of the first for the Senators and the Braves. Senators lead 3-2.
That one popped up into shallow center field. And Williamson's got it for out number 2. So that'll bring it back to the top of the lineup for Gaithersburg. The second baseman, Brady Powell, stepping up to the dish. And also earlier today, Tennessee knocking off Florida State. They will be playing in the championship series. And the winner of the contest between the Aggies and the Gators will join them. So we are guaranteed to have an all-SEC final in the Men's College World Series. Also had a all-SEC final in the Women's College World Series. At least a future SEC final, as Texas and Oklahoma will officially join the conference starting next season. Now, I may be biased coming from an SEC school, but The men's and women's College World Series, just another example of the SEC reigning supreme in the big-time athletics. The count now 2-1 on Powell. Although over the past 30 years, it's actually been a Pac-12 school that has dominated in all the collective sports. That would be Stanford, as that one popped high into foul territory. Ranging over is Whitaker, who can't make the play. That ball bouncing into the Gaithersburg Giants bullpen.
Great hustle from Whitaker to make it over to the bullpen fence. Unfortunately, that ball landing just over the fence into the bullpen and out of play.
But the Director's Cup, which has been around for about 30 years, Stanford has taken home almost all of them.
Bless you.
Thank you. Here comes the 2-2. Swung on and missed for strike 3. But a 4 spot here in the top of the second from the Giants. The Big Train have some catching up to do when we come back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park, where the Giants have taken an early 4-0 lead over the Big Train, as the first pitch to Christopher Diaz is fouled off down the left field line. The crowd here at Shirley Povich Field is bustling on this very special night. Again, very thankful that the Negro Leagues are getting their proper time in the sun, both literally and figuratively.
With the hot summer sun still beating down on us at the moment. But yeah, there's a lot of fun here tonight at Shirley Povich Field, as we have, as we mentioned, quite a long history being on display on the Shirley Povich concourse. A lot of fans in attendance here to honor the Negro Leagues.
As the 2-1 pitch is outside for a ball. There are a lot of incredible statistics about the Negro Leagues that I personally find fascinating. I'll share a couple right now, like I'm Phoebe sharing random fun facts about whatever. As Diaz will take ball 4, the leadoff hitter a bit on base for the Big Train. Landon Franklin stepping up to the plate with 1 on and no outs. Now, both of them pertain to Josh Gibson, who, if we're using a comparison, I don't love doing that, but he was of similar effect to Babe Ruth in the Negro Leagues. And Josh Gibson played 14 seasons, but he only took a handful of at-bats in 12 of them. So he played 12 full seasons. He led the league in home runs in 11 of those seasons. One of the greatest sluggers that has ever stepped onto a professional diamond. And the other one, the year is escaping me, but one of them, he hit 20 home runs in 39 games. If he did that on a 162 game pace, he would have hit around 83 home runs. Which is a lot more than the current record. But as I said last inning, numbers don't tell the whole story, especially with someone as great as Willie Mays. Runner goes, but Diaz will have to retreat back to first as Franklin fouls that pitch off for strike 2.
You make an excellent point about the numbers not saying everything, I think. A great player's contribution to the sport of baseball extends beyond the field as well. Willie Mays earning himself the nickname of the Say Hey Kid for his greeting fans with Say Hey.
That 1-2 pitch is hit high and far into right field. Back goes Runyon, and he drops it. Runyon had that in the breadbasket, but could not make the catch, as that'll go down as an E9. The big train catching a big break early on, trying to make up this 4-0 deficit. The third baseman, Keenan Bowman, stepping up to the plate.
The right field seeing an awful lot of action from both teams tonight. At number 9, Keenan Bowman, as you said. Now the catcher tonight is Cole Constable, but Big Train's other catcher, Luca Perriello, and Keenan Bowman actually used to play Little League baseball together from the ages of 11 to 14, so they are long-term teammates with a lot of history with each other.
So the count 0-1 on Bowman. Runners on first and second with no outs here in the bottom of the second. That pitch from Sample just avoiding the outside corner for a ball. The 1-1. High and inside for ball 2. So the count 2-1. Bowman showing bunt. He gets one down. It's gloved by Sample. He fires it on to first for out number 1. But Bowman doing his job, putting both runners in scoring position as the 9-hitter Cole Constable steps up to the plate.
And that's exactly what we've been talking about here past couple of broadcasts. Small ball plays have been bringing the Big Train a lot of success, as you see Keenan Bowman showing bunt to move his teammates into a scoring position. That's thinking about the person coming up behind you.
So an early chance for the Big Train to make up this early deficit. The first pitch to Constable. That one outside for a ball. Now on bunts like those, according to myth and legend, one might think that Mays or even the great Cool Papa Bell could have made it to second. Count now 2-0 on Constable. Count now 3-0. Waiting on deck is the designated hitter, Jordan Crosland. Constable trying to bring that spirit of the 46 Newark Eagles here. That one in there for a strike. Again, not as historically dominant as some of the other teams in the Negro Leagues, namely the Homestead Grays. Can also throw the Kansas City Monarchs in there. But in their lone championship appearance, got it done when it mattered most. The count now full on Constable with one out here in the bottom of the second. The 3-2 pitch swung on and missed for strike 3. So Sample now has a good opportunity to get out of this inning with a 0 still in the Big Train scoring department. Jordan Crosland stepping up to the plate with 2 outs and 2 runners in scoring position. Now the situation not unfamiliar to Bethesda. They've had a mixed success rate on scoring runs, as a good one will come out of this one. Diaz scoring from third, Franklin scoring from second, and Jordan Crosland's got himself a 2 RBI single to cut the Giants' lead in half.
So now all of a sudden, see the Big Train only trailing by 2. Only 2 outs on the board. They still have a chance to really fight back and tie up the game here. Excellent offense from the Big Train. They just have this fighting spirit. They don't give up. They play to the end.
Now a healthy part of the lineup. One that's been very productive, as Crosland sent back to first on the pickoff attempt by Sample. Williamson winning Rifkin League Hitter of the Week. And despite him getting caught stealing in his last appearance on the base paths, has caused a lot of trouble there, as that one's lined into deep left center field. That'll roll all the way to the wall. Crosland flying around second. He'll fly around third. And there will be no throw home, as Andrew Williamson's got himself another RBI double. The score now 4-3. And that one actually hit the Catalyst hot dog sign in left center field. We'll have to check the replay to see if it hit the hot dog. But it looked very close. As we'll get our first mound visit here to Sample, as the tides have turned in favor of the Big Train. Williamson representing the tying run on second.
And with a big bat for the Big Train now stepping up to the plate, and Davin Whitaker, he does hold one of the couple of home runs we've seen this summer. He's had a lot of success from the plate, standing in right field for your Big Train tonight. We've seen him bounce around the infield and outfield a bit.
So Sample, as I said a couple of innings ago, trying to bounce back from the turbulent inning and 2/3 he had pitched this summer. Let's see if he can keep this game at 4-3, or if Davin Whitaker is able to tie this game up or even give the Big Train a lead. As the first pitch is grounded, glove by Sheeler at first, and he'll step on the bag for out number 3. But the Big Train, a phenomenal bottom of the second inning, now trail by just 1. We've got a high-scoring contest on our hands here at Shirley Povich Field. We'll be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, where Bethesda's done a little rectifying. They now trail just 4-3 as we start the top of the third inning. Leading off is going to be the first baseman, Danny Sheeler, who played hero the last time these two teams met, hitting a walk-off single. This one bouncing in front of Franklin and on to first for out number one. So Sheeler's just seen 2 pitches tonight, as has been retired on both. Maybe trying to establish himself as the most aggressive hitter in this game. Although I think Davin Whitaker might still have him beat. So the catcher, Brandon Kleiman, will step up to the plate. Has already had a great night behind the plate in just these first couple of innings. Threw out 1 runner. And it looked like he threw out another runner, but poor scorekeeping by us made us not realize that ball 4 would have negated any sort of action by Kleiman behind the plate, as he is quickly down 0-2 against Cassidy.
But that shows great defense from Kleiman to be ready to go for the throw at any moment. Of course, as you mentioned, ball number 4 negated that anyway, but shows great defense from Kleiman that he was out there ready to gun down yet another runner at second.
Here comes the 1-2 from Cassidy. That one high and inside. Almost clipping Kleiman. As that one's lined into right field for a base hit.
Again, that right field seeing a lot of action tonight.
So that'll bring up the left fielder, Aiden Robbins, who came around to score in his last plate appearance.
Emilio Gonzalez not in the lineup for tonight, but if he was, he'd be showing the left field some love as well.
This is essentially a reverse Emilio Gonzalez performance the Giants are putting on right now, as the first pitch just missing the outside corner for a ball. The 1-0 to Robbins. That one more outside for ball 2. Waiting on deck is the third baseman, Wyatt.
So the Big Train offense came alive in the bottom of the second inning to chip in to the Gaithersburg Giants' hard-fought 4-run lead to bring it down to just 1 run. Now the Big Train defense trying to protect that score differential.
So the count now 2-1 on Aiden Robbins. Representing the Northeast, hailing from Yardley, Pennsylvania, currently playing his college ball at Seton Hall. Had 17 multi-hit games for the Pirates last season, which included 6 homers and 31 RBIs. One of those home runs was a walk-off against St. John's, who eventually won the Big East. But them nor any of the other conferences proving to be an equal match for anyone in the SEC. As the count now 3-2 on Robbins. Again, Tennessee beating Florida State earlier today, which leaves just Florida and Texas A&M still alive. As that pitch is grounded through the hole on the left side for a base hit. So the first base knock into left field for the Giants. They now have runners on first and second for Danny Wyatt. Just 1 out here in the top of the third.
Now Wyatt, he went to Oxford Area High School, and during his time there, he had the highest batting average of Maryland legends while attending UMBC for his freshman season. In 156 at-bats, knocked in 32 runs for a slugging percentage of .577 and an on-base percentage of .371. Hoping to capitalize off the 2 runners on the bases.
As Cassidy starts him off with a curveball for strike 1. So now it's Cassidy's turn to try and get out of a jam. The 0-1 to Wyatt. That one low for a ball. Now looking on UMBC's team website, found it funny that 2 of the things he likes are steak and the Philadelphia Phillies. He is just like everybody else. As the 1-1 pitch hits Danny Wyatt in what looked like the elbow. So he'll take his base, and that'll load him up for the designated hitter, Tyler DiMartino.
We watched the Giants put up a 4-spot at the top of the 2nd inning. Now with bases loaded, hoping for a similar result to bring in run after run to reestablish their dominant lead they had at the top of the 2nd inning.
So we'll get a quick discussion between the umpires. The only thing I can think of is that Danny Wyatt might have leaned into that pitch, but they ruled that he did not. So Wyatt will stay at first. Just 1 out still here in the top of the 3rd inning for DiMartino. A great last at bat. A double into right field. And finding himself in a similar situation here. Here comes the pitch. That one a big swing and a miss for strike 1. As DiMartino will look at that one for strike 2. So a good job by Cassidy to get ahead in the count. Something that neither Cassidy nor Sample has been able to do super effectively, as both teams have seen their batters jump on pitches early in the count. The 0-2 inside for a ball. Cassidy looking to avoid the fate that Jonathan Stevens and some others have come to realize, which is hitting a batter with 2 strikes. As the 1-2 is high and inside for a ball.
Agreed, a lot of the hitters throughout the Cal Ripken League show great defense from the plate. Very distinguished and diligent with the pitches that they'll swing at. So although you may go to an 0-2 count, these hitters often are really great at battling back in the count and staying alive at the plate to extend their at-bat appearance.
As DiMartino swings and misses. Actually, that looks like a foul ball.
It landed in the ground there a little bit.
So DiMartino will stay alive. The count now 2-2, 1 out here in the top of the 3rd inning. Bases loaded. Waiting on deck is the shortstop, A.J. Martin. That one popped up into shallow right field. Whitaker's under it for out number 2. And every runner will stay at their base. So a good out there for the big train. And the last threat for the Giants, hopefully for Bethesda, is A.J. Martin.
Now batting number 7,
Great defense from Matthew Wesley. You saw him charge in towards the mound, ready to make a play should any of the runners go.
As Kleiman will call time and have a quick chat with Sample. Excuse me, that is not the right team. Constable will call time to have a conversation with Cassidy.
It's the all-white jerseys throwing you off. As tonight, your big train sporting all-white Eagles uniforms to pay homage to the Negro League.
That felt like a late career Willie Mays moment. The Say Hey Kid was definitely not the same with the New York Mets after the Giants traded him. As that one's crushed into deep left center field. That one way back and gone! A grand slam by A.J. Martin. Puts the Giants ahead 8-3.
So a 4 spot in the top of the second, a 4 spot here again. The Giants really battling back hard after their dominant lead dissipated with the attack of the big train from the plate. Now they've put 4 more onto the board to reestablish that dominant lead. Great bat from A.J. Martin to make some magic happen for the Gaithersburg Giants.
So a 2-out stunner there from A.J. Martin. As the great Dave Niehaus would say, get out the rye bread and mustard, Grandma. It's a grand salami. The voice of the Seattle Mariners for a large chunk of their existence. Might have broken the sound barrier on that one.
That one sailing just above the scoreboard there to land out of the park. Excellent hit from A.J. Martin. You know he'll be thinking about that one the rest of the summer.
So that'll catalyze a pitching change here for the big train. Brandon Cassidy will look to rebound from this one the next time he takes the bump. We'll be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network. As we've got a new pitcher on the bump for Bethesda, it's Will Clements relieving Brandon Cassidy after he just gave up a 2-out grand slam to A.J. Martin. That put Gaithersburg ahead 8-3.
Will Clements, a right-hand pitcher and rising senior at Tulane. Pitched 33.2 innings this past spring, striking out 22.
As the 1-1 pitch is grounded up the middle, fielded by Lombardi, and on to first in time for out number 3. But a second consecutive 4-spot, courtesy of a grand slam by A.J. Martin, has Gaithersburg up by 5. We'll be right back with the bottom of the third here on Big Train Baseball Network.
Some fun is all we want. Two kids come alive in a night rush. I'll be the girl next door. You be my summer crush. Yeah, I think you should come and pick me up. 'Cause nothing feels as good as summer love. Move so fast. Here's hoping this night will last. Just let go. We're spinning with our eyes closed. Holding on and on and on and on. Hoping I can get to know you better. Living in sweet suburbia. Some fun is all we want. Two kids come alive in a night rush. I'll be the girl next door. You be my summer crush. Yeah, I think you should come and pick me up. 'Cause nothing feels as good as summer love.
Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park, where the Giants have taken an 8-3 lead over the Big Train. As the first pitch from Sample is swung on and missed by Lombardi for a strike.
But Clements coming in on the mound towards the end of the top of the third inning. And Lombardi helping him to field it for the third and final out. The two Green Wave players working in tandem to record the third and final out to shut the Giants down at their now 8-3 lead.
Here comes the 0-2. That one upstairs for ball 1. Waiting on deck is the first baseman, Matthew Westley. As the 1-2 pitch is an off-speed outside for ball 2. Now, one of the journalists that had the pleasure of watching Willie Mays in person is the great Shirley Povich. One of the many people I'd love to talk to about his career, amongst a lot of other things, obviously, considering how many years of experience Povich had under his belt. And you hear old-timers, especially baseball players, talk about the great ones from their era in almost folklorian terms, like they were blurring the line between mortals and immortals. But it's still so cool to hear the tales and the legends and the myths of players like Mays, as Wesley will take his base on the full count offering.
Lombardi. Lombardi takes his 4th ball to walk out to first as Matthew Wesley steps up to the plate.
Now batting number 20, Matthew Wesley.
It's funny because late in Mays' career, as I said, he struggled with the Mets after he was traded by the Giants. And there was one particular game where he mishandled 2, not necessarily routine fly balls in center field, but ones that prime Willie Mays certainly would have reeled in. That's kind of how I feel right now, not to compare myself to Willie Mays. No one is Willie Mays in any aspect. But I'm trying to set the time machine back to the heydays as Christopher Diaz steps up to the plate with 1 out and a runner on first.
Diaz was walked during his previous at-bat, hoping for some similar success to push Big Train players into scoring position here as they try and fight back at their 5-run deficit.
That ball gets by Kleiman.
Diaz giving Lombardi the go-ahead.
So a runner now in scoring position for the Big Train. Kleiman unable to handle that ball in the dirt. As that pitch is outside for a ball. So this is a big game for both teams. The Giants lead the Big Train by 1 game for the North Division lead. And late in the season when playoff seeds are being doled out, head-to-head records are going to matter a lot, as the count now 3-0 on Diaz with Landon Franklin waiting on deck. But if the Big Train are going to even the season series, they'd love to get a win here as Diaz has walked on 4 pitches. That'll bring up the, second baseman, Landon Franklin. Down the left field line. Might have cleared the tennis courts that border Shirley Povich Field. Here comes the 0-1. That one painting the low outside corner for strike 2. As Sample will take a couple of extra seconds to recollect himself. Trying to set down Franklin on strikes with Keenan Bowman waiting on deck. Here comes the 0-2. That off speed in the dirt, but a good block by Kleiman to keep it in front. So the count now 1-2 on Franklin. The 1-2 outside for a ball. As I'm checking out the concourse again, a lot of cameras here for this momentous night. As Franklin pops up the 2-2 pitch into foul territory and out of play. That one bouncing on the grandstand down the first base line and into the Seven Locks Brewing tent. Actually went a little bit past it. Seven Locks Brewing, one of the several awesome organizations here at Shirley Povich Field. Just bordering the Kona ice truck as Franklin will foul that one into the backstop. And across the way is the always amazing Catalyst hot dogs. The 2-2 pitch swung on and missed for strike 3. So a big K there for Sample. And with 2 outs and runners on first and second, that'll bring up Keenan Bowman.
Now, during his last at-bat, we saw him lay bunt to push runners into scoring position. Sacrificial bunt, recording 1 out on the board for the Big Train to push runners into scoring position and bring the Big Train some success.
The first pitch swung on and missed for a strike. Bowman, one of the late arrivals to Bethesda, has made his presence known in batting practice, as he has given Matthew Westley a run for his money. Some people, not just in baseball but in other professions, have the it factor. And it was very apparent early on that Bowman's got a little extra juice in the bat. As the 1-1 pitch is grounded to the shortstop, Martin, it gets away from him, and everybody is safe. He tried to get the inning ending out at second, but the bobble proving costly. And now Cole Constable will look to eat into this 5-run lead. Bases loaded and 2 outs.
Now, 2 bases clearing grand slams would be insane for one ball game. But Cole Constable at the plate with the bases loaded.
The first pitch is outside for a ball. If he is able to get on base, that would bring up the top of the lineup. With Jordan Crosland waiting on deck, already has an RBI hit tonight. The 1-0 was lined into center field, but right to Lackey for out number 3. So the Train leave them loaded. The lead remains 5 for the Giants. We'll be back with the top of the 4th here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park, where the Big Train still trail the Giants 8-3 despite threatening in the last half inning. As the first pitch to Leighton Lackey is outside for a ball.
Lackey, the leadoff hitter for the top of the 4th inning, also made a catch from center field to leave them loaded for the Big Train.
Count now 2-0 on Lackey. Lackey fouls this one off. The count now 2-1. Last inning, our lovely PA announcer Sam Salem read a short tribute to Willie Mays as the crowd here at Shirley Povich applauded. Count now 3-1 on Lackey. It's almost fitting that 2 days after his passing, the MLB will have a game at Rickwood Field where his professional career started. As Lackey will take ball 4. So the leadoff hitter aboard for the Giants. That'll bring back the top of the lineup with second baseman Brady Powell. Now, another thing that was so inspiring about Mays was the childlike joy he played baseball with. There was a quote that former Big Train announcer Adam Glover actually sent in our Slack earlier today. From the end of a passage he had seemed to read as Powell gets hit in the back. That'll put 2 runners on early for the Giants with Danny Sheeler stepping up to the plate. Now, this is not verbatim, but the line basically read, Mays made kids feel like adults and adults feel like kids. And that's kind of the point of baseball. I personally think that's really lovely.
Just goes to what I was saying earlier. Great baseball players, their effect is felt off the field just as much as it is seen on the field.
As Sheeler cannot get the bunt down, the count now 0-1. Now, it wasn't always this way for Mays. He started his professional career hitting just 1 of 26. But obviously turned it on after that. And the rest is great history, as that one is chopped to the third baseman Bowman, who tags third for out number 1. But that one flies by Westley as Powell is sent home. He will score as the Giants now lead 9-3. As Danny Sheeler looks to be injured. He is down on his knees out in foul territory in right field. Let's hope he's A-okay. We're going to take a quick commercial break here on Big Train Baseball Network. We'll be right back, hopefully very soon.
the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Ride that boogie.
Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, as Danny Sheeler has been subbed out of the game after he took a tumble on that last play. Let's hope it's nothing serious, as he's been a very important contributor for the Giants thus far. As the first pitch to Brandon Kleiman's in there for a strike.
We wish Danny Sheeler speedy recovery.
Count now 1-1 on Kleiman.
But an excellent hop from third baseman Keenan Bowman on that attempted double play. You saw him shoot up to make that catch. Unfortunately, was just a little too high for the reach of Matthew Wesley for the double play.
So the count now 1-2 on Kleiman. Waiting on deck is the left fielder Aiden Robbins. As that one hits him. So Kleiman is aboard on a 2-strike hit by pitch. Mentioned that earlier, definitely a deflating situation for any pitcher. You have the batter on the ropes, only for them to take their base in an instant. So now Robbins steps up to the plate with runners on first and second, just one out. Here in the top of the fourth inning, the Giants have already plated one.
That records back-to-back base hits for Kleiman. Robbins also with back-to-back base hits during his previous 2 at-bats.
The 0-1 pitch outside for a ball. As there doesn't appear to be any action so far in the Big Train bullpen. Clemens trying to strand 2. The 1-1 is grounded to second. On to second for 1. And the runner is safe at first. A really nice stretch and catch by Wesley off of the throw from Labardi. But Aiden Robbins is aboard first safely with 2 outs. Danny Wyatt stepping up to the plate. So Landon Franklin continues his stellar play in the field. Has looked really good as of late, both at second and at short. As the first pitch to Wyatt is in there for a strike. Runner takes off. The throw down to second is not in time. So Aiden Robbins swipes second. An ambitious endeavor from Constable, considering that there was a runner on third. So runners now on second and third with 2 outs. Here comes the 1-1. That one low and outside for ball 2. Here comes the 2-1. That one low and outside for ball 3. And waiting on deck is Tyler DiMartino. A late addition to the Giants that's made a big impact thus far. One who has made a big impact at Xavier during his time there will look to translate that to his lone season, what will be his final college season at Indiana. And he'll look to record another big hit with the bases loaded and 2 outs.
Now batting number 33, Howard DiMartino.
Clements in a bit of a jam here. Hoping to get out of this one with only letting the Giants scratch across one and give the Big Train a fighting chance to battle back in this contest. Sitting behind.
The first pitch to DiMartino is in the dirt for a ball. DiMartino comes from a very athletic family, as we're going to have a mound visit here with Clements. One of his 2 younger sisters, Delaney, started her college soccer career at Loyola, Maryland, but recently transferred to Maryland. The youngest of the DiMartinos, Riley, is set to start her freshman season at Notre Dame playing soccer as well. Also had an older brother playing, you guessed it, soccer at Louisville. And with the Whitman Vikings, DiMartino was one of the several sluggers throughout his high school career on that 2019 team. Him and Jack Ryan were definitely a dynamic duo. Jack Ryan starting his college career at UMBC, eventually transferring to Trinity in Texas, recently graduated. His younger brother, Matt, has starred for UMBC over the past couple of seasons, but recently entered the transfer portal. As the 1-0 to DiMartino's low and outside for ball 2. And Delaney was Whitman's best player on their 2021 state title team. The first of 3 consecutive for Whitman girls soccer. As DiMartino looks at that one for a strike. The count now 3-1 on DiMartino, despite a great frame from Constable. Waiting on deck is the shortstop, A.J. Martin. DiMartino, a big swing and a miss for strike 2.
AJ Martin, a dangerous bat for the Gaithersburg Giants. His last at bat, grand slam that brought the Giants to an 8-3 lead, which is now 9-3.
The full count pitch is grounded to Lombardi at short. And on to first for out number 3. So the Giants leave the bases loaded, but they add 1 onto their lead. It's 9-3 in favor of the road team. We'll be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, where Bethesda now trails 9-3 as the first pitch to Jordan Crosland is gloved by Martin for out number 1. So that'll bring up the center fielder, Andrew Williamson, who is probably the closest thing to Willie Mays that we have in the CRS CBL.
I was going to say he's having a heck of a night as he's had a couple of really great nights since joining the Big Train squad for the summer, a later addition to the roster. But tonight, he didn't gotten on base during every at-bat.
So we're going to have a pitching change for the Giants. It is going to be Ashton Chronister, the tall lefty. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back at the end of his warm-up here on Big Train Baseball Network.
The juices in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride the boogie train till the sun comes up. Ride the boogie train, ride the boogie train, ride the boogie train till the sun comes up. Meet me in the corner, no. 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 Boogie down, mix up. Boogie down, fix up. The juices in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Say hey baby, I love the way you groove. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Say hey baby, I love the way you boogie down. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Boogie down. The juices in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Ride that boogie train.
Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park. As Andrew Williamson lays down a bunt, it's fielded by Chronister, but Williamson is safe at first.
My goodness, he turned on the wheels. Could see the dirt flying behind him as he charged over to first base. Excellent play from Williamson again. Heck of a night for the center fielder.
So that'll bring up the right fielder, Davin Whitaker, looking to chip away at this 6-run deficit. The first pitch from Chronister is lined fair down the right field line. Everyone fasten your seatbelts. Here goes Williamson around second. Williamson's around third. He will score easily, and Davin Whitaker has a stand-up RBI double.
Now, we have talked about Davin Whitaker being a big, bad bat for the Big Train, and that just goes to prove it. Huge hit from Whitaker to propel the Big Train further, cut into that score deficit they found themselves in. Now in scoring position, 1 out on the board. Davin Whitaker strikes again for the Big Train.
So that'll bring up the shortstop, Mike Lombardi, with a runner in scoring position and 1 out. facing Ashton Chronister, who made an appearance the last time these two teams played at Shirley Povich Field. The first pitch to Lombardi's in there for a strike. Now Chronister is entering his sophomore season at Xavier, hailing from Rogers, Arkansas. As I mentioned the last time these two teams played at Shirley Povich, Chronister is a Arkansas man through and through, and so is his family. Both of his parents played for the University of Arkansas. His father, Graham, playing for the Razorbacks in the late 90s, and his mother, Kim, playing for Arkansas volleyball. The count now 1-2 on Lombardi. And Ashton's younger brother, Aiden, is a four-star recruit in basketball for the class of 2026. Holds a truckload of Power 5 offers at the moment, including from Alabama, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Texas Tech, Iowa, UCLA, Michigan, Xavier, and Arkansas as well. The 2-2 to Lombardi's outside. So the count now full with Matthew Westley waiting on deck.
Now Lombardi's been walked during his two previous at-bats, now staring down a full count pitch. Would love to get on base with his potential third walk of the night.
And he will do just that. So runners now on first and second for Matthew Westley. Now would be a great time for his second home run of the season. The first one he hit in the season opener against the Gaithersburg Giants. The first pitch to Westley. That one outside for a ball. The 1-0 from Chronister. That one in there for a strike, as it has cooled off a considerable amount here at Shirley Povich. The sun descending behind the trees in right center field, as Chronister will step off the mound for a brief moment as an errant ball has made its way onto the field. Waiting on deck is Christopher Diaz.
Diaz, like Lombardi, has been walked during his first two at-bats.
Here comes the 2-1. That one a high fly ball into right center field. It is high, it is far, it is gone! A 3-run shot by Matthew Westley, his second of the summer, and the Big Train have cut the lead to 2.
My God! An excellent comeback from the Big Train. I think you might have manifested that one. You mentioned Wesley getting a home run earlier in the season, hoping to get his second one, and there he goes, sailing it over the right center field fence to really bring back the Bethesda Big Train. Now sitting only 2 runs behind, only 1 out on the board. Big Train, quite the comeback here in the bottom of the 4th inning. My goodness, huge bat from Matthew Wesley.
Now we're set to have fireworks here at Shirley Povich Field in about an hour, but the fans have already been treated to some here on the diamond, as Diaz takes the first pitch high for a ball. Already 16 combined runs. We're not even done with the 4th inning.
A highly competitive game here at Shirley Povich tonight.
The count now 2-0 on Diaz.
And we talked about about the competitiveness. One of the last times Big Train was at home when they fell 13-10, but the offense really striking back hard, showing off their prowess to get a large number of runs recorded on the board. We're looking at another high-scoring game here tonight, highly competitive. The Giants have been working hard to put on back-to-back four spots, hoping to keep the Big Train down, but Matthew Wesley goes to show this team has a winning mentality, and they will not stay down. They keep coming back.
The scoreboard out in left center field looking like Wendy's with all the fours. Christopher Diaz looking to hopefully add on to that total as he'll foul that one off to bring the count full. I must say, ever since I got to college, I've started measuring things in stuff like biggie bags. Okay, if I get a $20 bill, that's about 4 biggie bags.
I don't think anything really beats the 4-for-4 deal, especially as a broke college student.
Definitely a nice late night pick-me-up, as we're going to have a mound visit here with Chronister. Landon Franklin due up with 2 outs and no one on. The Big Train cutting the Gaithersburg lead to just 9-7, as that'll be it for Chronister. So a short outing for the Arkansas native. We'll have a new pitcher for the Giants looking to stop the bleeding here in the bottom of the 4th. We'll be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, as we have a new pitcher on the bump for the Giants. Delivering strike 1 to Landon Franklin is Mitchell Bramsway. Hailing from Temecula, California, currently playing with the Gwinnett University Griffins. As that off speed is outside for ball 1.
Bramsway welcomed a new role in his senior campaign as a starter with a 3-for-3 record. On March 23rd, earlier this spring, he earned his first collegiate career complete game over the Cyclones.
There's a fly ball in the right field, and under it is Runyon for out number 3. But the Big Train respond with a 4 spot of their own. They trail 9-7. We'll be back for the top of the 5th here on Big Train Baseball Network.
Ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Say hey baby, I love the way you groove. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Say hey baby, I love the way you boogie down. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Boogie down. The juice in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train, ride that boogie train till the sun comes up. Meet me in the corner alone. 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 Boogie, boogie down, baby. Can you boogie down?
Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park, where the Big Train have cut the Giants' lead to just 2.
Now up at the plate, one of the most dangerous bats for the Gaithersburg Giants. It's A.J. Martin. Got a home run in his previous at-bat that brought the lead to 8-4 as now he's hit by the pitch.
Well, in a sense, that was a smart play from Clements. You can't give up a homer if you just hit the guy. So Martin's aboard to lead off the inning. That will bring up the right fielder Landon Runyon, who made the last out of the last half inning.
And we do not mean to suggest that Clemens purposefully hit
Oh,
A.J.
no,
Martin.
that is never my intention. I am a pacifist. I will never suggest inciting violence. That was simply sarcasm. That one's lined fair down the left field line past the glove of Bowman. Martin will stop at second, as now the first 2 batters have reached base here in the top of the 5th. Setting up Leighton Lackey nicely.
Lackey was walked during his last at-bat. Clements from the mound now hoping to leave him swinging and prevent the Giants from tacking on to their 2-run lead. Now while the Big Train has worked their way out of a difficult position, hoping to not have to put too many more huge runs up on the board to walk away with the win.
So the first pitch from Clemens outside. Lackey looked like he wanted to lay down a bunt at first, but a good call to pull back. Would not be a bad idea considering the runners on first and second and no outs. He'll try to lay down another bunt. Will pop it up into foul territory, but Bowman cannot get to it as he crashes into the home plate umpire. But man, Bowman was almost at the backstop in an instant.
He's got some serious wheels on him.
That might be the fastest Pirate I've ever seen.
Powerful legs. We saw him make a skying jump to make a catch in a previous inning. Now speeding on over to try and make the catch.
So the count now 1-1 on Lackey, as Wesley is playing shallow. anticipating another bunt as the count moves to 2-1.
Now this is the team that gave the Big Train a lot of trouble with their bunting strategy. Since that game over in Gaithersburg, we've seen the Big Train make a lot of movement and changes in their fielding strategies and plays to prevent their opponents from laying down multiple bunts to get the advantage.
So the count now 3-1 on Lackey. Waiting on deck is the second baseman, Powell. As the throw back to second is not in time. Another score update from around the Ripken League. The Crop Dusters have knocked off the Thunderbolts. They shut them out 5-0. And over at South County High School, the Senators are currently up 13-3 on the Braves. As the count has moved full on Lackey, will be forced to swing if there's a ball in the zone. He does just that, sends one out into center field, and it's caught by Williamson for out number 1.
So Lackey gets the hit off, but Williamson, an excellent addition to the outfield again, has been so incredible from that center field position. Was right under it to make the catch for out number 1.
So that'll bring up Brady Powell with runners on first and second and 1 out. Bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As Powell looks at the first pitch low for a ball. Now on deck is the substitute for Danny Sheeler. It'll be number 30, Will Burgess. As the count now 1-1 on Powell. Burgess, a rising sophomore at Montgomery College. Had 42 hits last season, 6 home runs and 34 RBIs, batted a rock-solid .326. As the 1-1 pitch is fouled off into the net, bringing the count to 1-2. Here comes the pitch from Clements. That one fouled off. Looked like Martin had an itching to take third, but stopped on the foul ball. Let's see if he tries it again with the count still 1-2. Although a strikeout and a successful throw down by Constable would end the inning. Here comes the 1-2. That one high for a ball. And we have a first-time guest here in the booth just joining us. It is the one, the only Jake Villar. Jake, how are you, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
We're doing okay. We are entertained by the amount of scoring in this game as the 2-2 is lined and caught by Franklin onto first. It's a double play. So a classic 4-3 double play to end the inning. Jake, we're going to have to talk to you in the next half inning. Apologies for the good defense.
That's all right. We'll take it.
But we will be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, where Bethesda is looking to continue the climb back from an early deficit. They're still down just 2 with Keenan Bowman leading off the inning for the Big Train. Once again, Jake Villar joining us in the booth. Jake, obviously a sad day yesterday in the baseball world with the passing of Willie Mays. You had mentioned to us at Media Day that you were a big San Francisco Giants fan, hailing from the Northern California area. Can you just entail your fandom to us really quickly and maybe what Willie Mays has meant to you, even though nor you or I or any of us got to watch him play in person?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I wasn't alive during his tenure in the league, but I grew up a Giants fan because my grandfather was a Giants fan, and he grew up in New York watching the then New York Giants play, and he tells me stories about Willie Mays and how he's the greatest baseball player he's ever seen, hands down. He says it without a doubt and so firmly that I've started to believe it too. So it's a sad day for all of us, you know.
Watching the MLB Network broadcast last night, I was saying earlier in the game, listening to people like Bob Costas and Tom Verducci, Ken Griffey Jr., Harold Reynolds talk about Willie Mays as if he was basically a folk hero, like he wasn't real. And I think it is, in a sense, a little funny about how the athletes from many decades ago talk about the ones that played with this dash of fantasy. But for Willie Mays, it all seemed true. And when Tim Kirkjian said he was the greatest combination of power, speed, and defense he had ever seen, I was willing to believe that. What were some of the things that your grandfather had told you about Willie Mays, perhaps from a very young age?
He just told me that every time he saw him play, he was the best player on the field. And, I mean, he tells me how he saw an all-star game at one point. One of his, I don't know, he had like 23, 24 or something like that.
No,
But
you got it. 24, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got it.
A little baseball trivia. But, yeah, I mean, just every time he was on the field, it was clear he was the best out there.
As Bowman swings and misses for strike 3. So that'll bring up the catcher, Cole Constable, with 1 out, no one on. But Jake, talking more about your upbringing, what did the Giants mean to you growing up? Were they any more than a baseball team to you? Was it in a way a part of your identity?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in Southern California, and everyone's a Dodgers fan. I guess a few Angels fans in there, but they're not very outspoken. So all the Dodgers fans give me a hard time, but, you know, kind of gave me a little chip on my shoulder, made me a little upset, and made me like the team even more, especially when we were winning championships in, you know, 2010, 2012, and 2014.
What were those early World Series titles for you? What was that like?
Oh, they were great. I was like 9 years old watching my favorite team win the World Series and, you know, beat up on every other team in the league. It was awesome.
A couple of those Giants teams were underdogs, not supposed to win the whole thing at the start of the playoffs. But like many throughout baseball history, they were able to climb their way to the top. And actually, Jake, it was not necessarily baseball card night here, but we got these Clarence Israel cards to start the game, and feeling inspired, I brought a collection of my own, and I actually do have a present for you. It is a Gold Futures Madison Bumgarner.
Oh, no way.
That is all yours.
Wow, thank you. This is awesome. I'm a huge baseball card collector.
Really?
Yeah, and I do not have a Bumgarner card I like yet. This is incredible.
So we're actually gonna, as Jordan Crosland steps up to the plate, we're actually gonna get a quick boost shot here as the first pitch is in there for a strike. But Jake, I want you to, when the camera turns on us, just give it a good gander at the camera. As the count now 1-1 on Jordan Crosland. Count now 1-2. Show that card to that camera right there. Gold Futures Madison Bumgarner. How about that?
It's pretty incredible.
You said you didn't have a Bumgarner before.
I have had Bumgarners, but just the basic ones. This is a pretty special one.
Yeah, I don't remember where I originally got it, but I have a collection in my basement that spans thousands of cards. It is, yes. It is pretty extensive. I actually would go to Hall of Fame cards at the Cabin John Mall, not too far down the road here from Shirley Povich Field. That would be my spot as Jordan Crosland looks at strike 3. That'll be 2 outs, bringing up Andrew Williamson. But I was never one of those people that would put on latex gloves and open super special packs and hope for something insane. I just liked having them. I would love for you to talk about that, because that's definitely a thing that a lot of people, especially athletes, are into. Does that date back to early in your childhood, like a lot of people?
Yeah, I was like 4 or 5 or maybe a little older than that. And me and my brother, every time our mom would drag us to the store, we'd beg her for a pack of baseball cards. And over time, that collection just grew, and we filled binders of sleeves of them. You know, we're not putting on gloves either. It's just a hobby. You know, it's nice to collect, but no, we amassed a pretty good collection there.
What would you say is the most special card you have in your collection, whether just quality-wise or just special to you personally?
Actually, continuing with the theme and the passing of Willie Mays, I have a Mays Rigney Master and Mentor card.
Wow.
That's like, it's the coolest Christmas gift I ever got. It's in a little case, on my dresser at home. It's the coolest card in the world.
So the count now 3-0 on Williamson. Waiting on deck is the right fielder Whitaker, who would represent the go-ahead run should he reach base. Williamson with a high fly ball into center field. Back goes Lackey at the wall. It is off the wall. Here comes run number 8 that will score easily. And the RBI double machine continues to produce. The big train now trailed by just 1. Jake, I know you're a pitcher, but what has Andrew Williamson's addition to the team been like so far?
He's slowly becoming my best friend. It's awesome. Every time he comes to the plate, he hits a double to the wall. It's great.
So, Jake, your last appearance on the mound, Southern Maryland Senators, held them scoreless for 5 straight innings. Can you talk a little bit about that success on the mound?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you always love throwing up zeros. It hasn't been super pretty for me out here before that outing. But no, I mean, you know, it comes with time. You know, we keep the preparation the same. We focus during the little practice time that we get out here, and you know, the results will follow.
You had mentioned you'd gotten tagged a little bit in your first 2 starts. What's the process of bouncing back from that and putting together as quality of a start as you did a couple nights ago in Waldorf?
I think it's just about staying level. You know, when you have a really good outing, you can't get too high, and when you have a bad outing, you can't get too low. Just, you know, keep your preparation the same, keep working at what you need to work at, and like I said, the results will come. You know, sometimes it'll be good, sometimes it'll be bad, but just go out there and give it all you got, pretty much.
I will say one of my favorite things about watching you on the mound as a left-handed pitcher, you throw those no-look passes over to first for pickoff attempts. Is that something that comes with having a good connection with your teammates, or is that just a skill you possess where you just know it's going to go over there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we need good chemistry to pull that off. You know, I think Emilio was playing first base, and he knew it was coming. He knows if they steal, I'll probably throw over. And I mean, I made some throws that weren't great, and he handled them well, and you know, got those outs, which were huge for us.
So the count now 1-1 on Whitaker with 2 outs. The tying run just a base away. Waiting on deck is the shortstop Mike Lombardi. Here comes the 1-1. There's a high fly ball into foul territory, and that'll land out of play for strike 2.
So we've seen some new additions to the team start to filter through. What has the process been like of getting these new players into the lineup and, you know, building on this chemistry?
Yeah, I thought it would be really difficult to acclimate to new players coming and going every day, but I think we have a great group here. You know, everyone's been so friendly, so nice, and you know, we're all just waiting to play together. We're all super excited about it. So we've gelled really well. A guy comes in and we're friends within the day, and a guy leaves and we miss him, you know, like we've been playing with him for 4 years.
So the count now 1-2 on Davin Whitaker with 2 outs. Here comes the pitch. Swung on and missed for strike 3. So that'll end the bottom of the 5th for the big train, but not before they scratch across one. Thanks to Andrew Williamson. Jake, it was an absolute pleasure having you on. We hope to see you sometime soon.
Thank you.
We will be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, where Bethesda has cut the Gaithersburg lead to just 1. As there's a new pitcher on the bump for the Big Train. It's Jonathan Stevens.
Now batting is number 30.
We also have another pitcher in the booth with us. We've got a regular customer. It's Max Martzoff. Max, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys tonight?
Feeling good. A lot cooler than we were at the beginning of the game. It's a lot cooler in here than it was the last time you were up here with Jordan, which I'm very thankful for all of our sakes and not just yours. So, Max, I was talking with Jake before the game, and he seemed like an obvious candidate to come up and talk about the Giants and Willie Mays, considering his California and San Francisco Giants background. But then Phoebe told me, she was like, hey, Max wants to come on too. And I was like, oh, neat. Let me go talk to him. And sure enough, you have a connection to the area. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So my dad actually is from San Francisco, and
there's a pop-up into shallow left field. That'll drop for a base hit. And that'll get by the left fielder Diaz, allowing Burgess to take second. So a runner in scoring position early here for the Giants. That'll bring up the catcher, Brendan Kleiman. Max, please continue.
Yes. So my dad, my grandfather was the former statistician for the Golden State Warriors, so he grew up in San Francisco, and he actually went to high school with Willie Mays' granddaughter, so it's kind of cool for him to tell me stories like that.
That is an awfully small world. I
Yeah,
love
it
when
is.
things like that happen. Now, it's funny that to talk about Willie Mays, an outfielder, we've had 2 pitchers in here, but Max, what are some of the things you heard about Willie Mays, some of the stories that you heard about the legend that was the Say Hey Kid?
I mean, you can't talk about Willie Mays without saying probably the greatest catch of all time, the over the shoulder at Ebbets Field. I mean, it's probably the most iconic catch of all time.
And we were talking about that catch actually in the opening half inning of the game. That is the defining play of his career. And it's funny to think about when certain amazing plays happen, they're given nicknames. Think about in college football, we've said at Auburn, the kick six, and the prayer at Jordan Hare as examples. Think about in the NFL, the Minneapolis Miracle a few years ago with the Vikings over the Saints. But this was just the catch, which happens thousands of times throughout a season. It's happened probably millions of times throughout MLB history, yet that is the one that stands out amongst the rest.
I think it also stands out because, I mean, look at the field he was playing on. He was playing at the iconic Polo Grounds, and any other field, that ball's out by 40 feet.
That one off the back of the bat of Vic Wirtz from the then Cleveland Indians. Probably a home run in 99% of other ballparks. But unfortunately, he just had to hit it not only into center field at Polo Grounds, but with arguably the greatest lockdown center fielder to ever step on a diamond. As strike three is called. So now one out here in the top of the sixth inning. That'll bring up the left fielder, Aiden Robbins. So, Max, we just had Jake in the booth last half inning. Had a great start a couple of games ago at Southern Maryland. What are some things you really liked about that one?
I love the way he got ahead with his fastball. He just pitched to contact. And when he was way ahead, he threw junk, fooled hitters completely the entire game. And in my opinion, that was the most dominant I've ever seen Jake Villar this summer, and I'm happy for him. He deserves an outing like that.
Tried to come in as a reliever on the mound. How do you think coming in with that huge lead helps you prepare for the mound mentally to throw some shutouts? And, does it add more pressure knowing that they haven't gotten a hit off yet?
No, not really. Pitching with a lead, in my opinion, is a lot easier than pitching when you're down because all you got to do is just relax, focus in the zone, and just attack. Because when you're down, obviously you can nibble a little bit with breaking stuff, but when you're ahead, you just want to pound the zone.
That one's popped up into foul territory and out of play. That one rustling in the trees down the first baseline grandstand. The count now 1-2 on Robbins. The third baseman, Danny Wyatt, waiting on deck. Max, last half inning, I gave a gift to Jake Villar. It was actually a Madison Bumgarner baseball card, as we are honoring Clarence Israel with baseball cards of him tonight. I figured I'd bring a couple of other baseball cards for some guys on the team before the game. Actually, I was able to earlier today find an Andre Ethier Topps card that I gave to starting center fielder Andrew Williamson, who had mentioned that it was his favorite player growing up, as Robbins is sent down swinging by Stevens for out number 2.
The amount of ride on his fastball makes him almost unhittable. Jonathan gets so much vertical movement on his fastball, you don't know where it's going to end.
Max, I think we should get you on MLB Network. I think you might be above this booth here at Shirley Povich Field. But seriously, we have mentioned that a lot, especially on two-strike pitches. Jonathan Stevens loves leaning on that high fastball. He's had a pretty high success rate, too. As that first pitch from Stevens high and inside.
So Quentin is showing off his baseball card collection here. Max, do you have a collection of your own?
I did when I was a little kid. I collected as many Red Sox players as I could because growing up a Red Sox fan, my mom was born in just a little bit east of Boston in a little town called Danvers. And I just grew up going to Red Sox games my whole life. My sister lives in Boston right now. And she used to work for Nesson, so I got the fortunate chance to go up in the Nesson booth and watch a Red Sox-Yankees game.
What is the most special card you have in your collection, whether it's value or just personal sentiment?
If I could remember it, it would be David Ortiz in his last All-Star game in San Diego. And he was my favorite player growing up, and I just idolized him forever. And that one just has a little more value to me than all the other ones.
And so, Max, I hate to tell you, but I actually did the opposite with Red Sox cards growing up a Yankees fan. I tried to filter them out of my collection as much as possible, but I do have a handful here. I would like to give one to you. I'll let you take a look at the small handful I have, as the count now 3-2. But it looks like we have a Coco Crisp, Luis Mendoza, the late great Tim Wakefield. We have Josh Beckett, and is that it? Oh no, we have Clay Buchholz as well. Who's that? Oh my goodness, that's Kurt Schilling in the bottom right corner. That one's lined up the middle for a base hit. Robbins will round third. He will score. That's actually going to be the substitute for Danny Sheeler.
Will Burgess.
So that'll make it 10-8 in favor of the Giants with 2 outs. A nice piece of hitting by Danny Wyatt. That'll bring up the designated hitter, Tyler DiMartino. Let me flip one more page to make sure I'm not missing anything else. I don't believe I am.
If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Beckett. I loved watching Josh Beckett in 2007 when they won the World Series that year. He was just dominant.
That one a 4-0 sweep over the Colorado Rockies. Let's see when this one was made. I did most of my card collecting in the early 2010s. Yep, 2011. That 2007 season, 20 wins and just over 200 innings pitched.
I believe he won the Cy Young that year too, no?
That wouldn't surprise me, as he also struck out almost 200 batters.
4 years prior, him and Red Sox teammate at the time, Mike Wool, also won a championship against your New York Yankees in 2003, Quentin.
They came back from a 3-0 deficit in 2004. That one of just a handful of low playoff moments for the Yankees.
Love saying that, though.
I, in a way, am glad I missed that one, as I've simply been subject to everything that's happened beyond 2004, as I was only a few months old when the comeback happened.
Constable chasing the runner back over to first. Was ready to gun him down over at second should he choose to run.
The count now 3-1 on Tyler DiMartino. The shortstop, A.J. Martin, waiting on deck. Hit a grand slam a couple of at-bats ago. As the 3-1 to DiMartino's hit high and far into right center field. But under it is Williamson at the warning track for out number 3. But the Giants add on to their lead with 1. They lead 10-8 as we head into the bottom of the 6th. Max, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us in the booth once again.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
We'll be back on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park, where the Big Train trail the Giants 10-8 as we're set to start the bottom of the 6th inning. Thanks again to Jake Villar and Max Martzoff for joining us up here in the booth. Lovely conversations with them both, especially pertaining to the special events of tonight as the first pitch to Lombardi is in there for a strike.
Now Lombardi has been a bit of a walk magnet tonight. All 3 of his at-bats have resulted in walks. We'll see if he will continue that pattern or change things up at the plate.
The 1-1 fouled off out of play. That'll bring the count to 1-2.
So we got a chance to talk to Jake Villar and Max Martzoff here in the booth, 2 excellent pitchers who had a great night on the road over at the Southern Maryland Senators home stadium. But Brandon Cassidy, Will Clements, Jonathan Stevens working in tandem to fight back at the Gaithersburg Giants. Now only trailing by 2 runs.
Max actually made a wonderful point in the last half inning regarding Stevens' fastball. As there's a high pop flying to right center field. Under it is Runyon, and he's got it for out number 1. So that retires Lombardi, bringing up the first baseman Matthew Westley. But just so much run on that fastball from Stevens.
Wesley, home run during his previous at-bat to help the Big Train close in on the score deficit they were facing earlier in the game.
I'm curious if any home run hit here at Shirley Povich this summer might actually not just hit the light tower, but hit one of the lights at the top of the tower, just like in the natural. Give Hunter Renfro a little bit of company. As the 0-1 is swung on and driven into right field, ranging over is Runyon into foul territory. He can't get there in time. So the count now 0-2 on Westley. Also, just a friendly reminder, in about 18 minutes, we'll have fireworks here at Shirley Povich Field. As if we haven't had much already. We'll get actual ones in the sky.
Just a small side note, the game will not be stopping for the fireworks. They will continue to play through the fireworks.
We could easily have a Sandlot moment here at Shirley Povich Field if someone during the fireworks show goes yard. There's a high pop fly into firework range. Ranging into shallow left center field is Robbins for out number 2.
And what a great list of contestants to make some yardage during the fireworks. The bats have been extra hot tonight. As you mentioned, we've been seeing a dry heat wave throughout the DMV area, which is helping the balls to sail farther on the field. That humidity not making them sticky or preventing them from sailing through the air. This dry heat helping them cut nicely through the air and through the sky.
So the count 1-0 on Christopher Diaz. Looking to come up clutch with 2 outs as that one's fouled off. 3 out of the last 4 half innings have seen the Big Train played at least 1. Here comes the 1-1 pitch. That one high and outside for ball 2. And also going back to our conversations with Villar and Martzoff, I did appreciate them having baseball card collections and, in Villar's case, having super extensive ones. It's often super cool when athletes at a high level have interests that are shared amongst many. As the count now 2-2 on Diaz. Oftentimes we think of athletes as these mythic figures, to where when they mention something that is more relatable to the common folk. It comes off as a little surprising, but it was nice to talk to Villar, especially about baseball cards, because that was something I and a lot of other kids growing up took interest in, as you can see with my giant binder here that I brought to the field excitedly today.
I love the young Quentin artwork on the front of the binder. He's made a smiley face.
I've made a smiley face with the eyes being first and third base, the mouth being at home plate. Very good handwriting for a first grader. Quentin's binder of cards. And for some reason, I stuck the old Texas Rangers and Toronto Blue Jays logos on there as well for some flavor, even though I had absolutely no rooting interest in either team growing up.
You're just showing that you weren't biased, some unbiased card collecting.
Even though literally half inning, I said to Max Martzoff I would filter out Red Sox cards intentionally. I have a smaller binder here with some of my favorites. I'm not sure there's a single Red Sox in there, as Diaz fouls another one off. I'm actually going to cycle through to make sure there aren't any Boston sports athletes. Oh, look at the first page. Look at who's at the bottom of the first page. It is David freaking Ortiz.
Now I asked both Jake and Max what their most special card in their collection was, either value-wise or personal sentiment-wise. Quentin, what's the most special card in your collection?
Oh, my gosh.
As Diaz extends his at-bat here.
This is a really good question. I'm trying to think of the card that got me the most excited. I'll find you a better answer in the next half inning, but I have a Derek Jeter card in this binder, and on it says that he had played the most games by any Yankee. As Diaz will take his base on ball 4, keeping the inning alive and bringing the tying run up to the plate, and Landon Franklin, who again last game went yard for the first time all summer.
That also records the third walk for Diaz tonight in just 4 at-bats. Yet another walk magnet for the big train.
One of the first that actually comes to mind is, funny enough, it is a Boston sports athlete. It is the great Larry Bird, whose card I believe I have somewhere in here. If not, it is laying somewhere in my basement.
How many cards do you have in your collection?
Thousands. Easily. I would collect a lot. I like the feeling of having them. Actually might, let me look in this pile here that I forgot to pay attention to. Here's the Jeter card. Most games played for by the Yankees. Thank you, Topps. And so I actually have a similar card to this. Here's one of Ken Griffey Jr. that if you flip it the right way,
oh my goodness,
you can see a cool little picture. And Larry Bird actually had one of those when he was at Indiana State.
Is that a special edition?
From front row, I'm actually not sure, but there are a handful of these of many different athletes. But the Jeter one was the first one that came to mind. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. I've actually, to be quite honest with you, it sounds silly considering how many I've gone through. I couldn't immediately think of a favorite. That 2-2 pitch blocked by Kleiman. So the count now full on Landon Franklin with Keenan Bowman waiting on deck. Here comes the 3-2. That one grounded to the shortstop, Martin. And he fires it over to first for out number 3. So the big train held scoreless for the first time in a couple of innings. They still trail 10-8. We'll be right back with the top of the 7th here on Big Train Baseball Network.
I can get to know you better living in sweet suburbia. Some fun
Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park, where the Big Train still trail the Giants 10-8. Jonathan Stevens still on the bump for Bethesda, as the first offering to A.J. Martin is outside for a ball. Martin, the first maker of a grand salami here at Shirley Povich Field, is in the top of the third inning, propelling Gaithersburg to an 8-3 lead that has since shrunk.
We've got our sideline reporter, Kaylee Tallman, in the booth. Kaylee, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I think the number of games is slowly catching up to me. I'm getting a little bit tired, but other than that, it's really nice to see how many fans have stayed this late in the game, being 9:40 at this point. Shirley Povich is still pretty much full.
We are about to see in about T-minus 7 minutes some fireworks, as we're likely to get it in this half inning. That one popped down the right field line and out of play for strike 2.
Although, Quentin, as you said, we've already seen a couple of fireworks within the field. Kaylee, how great was that 4 spot in the bottom of the 4th to bring the Big Train back?
It was the hitting that we've been waiting to see. And it's kind of trailed off a little bit since then, but the fact that that happened shows that it's there. And Matt Wesley, too, there were a couple games where he kind of slowed down in the hitting department, but the home run obviously proved that he's not gone yet.
The 3-2 from Stevens is popped up. Ranging in is the first baseman, Westerly, for out number 1. Did a great job of calling off Constable. And that'll bring up the right fielder, Landon Runyon. Kaylee, this is a slightly random question, but I figured since we've been on the topic of baseball cards for a few innings, was your dad much of a collector at all, or anybody in your family?
It's funny, baseball was not really at all a thing or hobby, I guess, in my family at all. So my dad didn't watch baseball. I didn't grow up watching baseball. Nobody really in my family other than my grandfather, who loves baseball, and he is a big fan of the Washington Nationals. He'll watch every game. I went to a lot of games with him as a kid. Didn't really know what was going on, because I think baseball is one of the hardest sports to understand conceptually, just because of how...
There's a line shot into right field. That'll drop for a base hit. So Runyon's aboard with 1 out. That'll bring up the center fielder, Leighton Lackey.
Just because of how technical it is, right? Like, understanding the strategies behind baseball is so complex, because it's a game of inches. It really is a game of inches, or a degree of spin, or anything like that, or a mindset. So it took me a while to sort of really understand baseball. Long-winded answer to no, nobody in my family collects cards, because nobody grew up on baseball.
But now you and your father, Mark Tallman, huge fans of the Bethesda Big Train.
Yeah, much more now. I've learned to really appreciate baseball, because I think growing up I kind of had the mindset that, oh, it's not as physical of a sport as football or hockey or soccer or basketball. And kind of talking to the guys down there, I've really gotten to understand just how hard it really is. I was talking to some of the pitchers the other day about kind of targeting their pitches to result in ground balls or fly balls or strikes, and how when that happens in a game changes. So yeah, it's been really interesting for me. We heard some banging down under the booth, so we're all peeking over the edge to look.
No doubt a trash can getting stuck in the sidewalk cracks over by the concession stand.
Kaylee, do you know where the fireworks are going to be set off? Is it going to be over the trees there in the
Over
outfield?
the trees in the outfield.
Oh, that's going to be so cool. As the first pitch to Powell was swung on and missed for a strike. Perhaps Stevens trying to give his offense a chance at some of the coolest pictures they'll ever have at the plate. As the 0-1 is popped out of play down the first base line. Perhaps somebody in this game can have a Benny Rodriguez moment. Hitting a home run with the fireworks going off like it's the 4th of July.
So, Kayla, you mentioned you have a spot near the dugout. You get to talk to the guys quite often. What has the mentality been as they had a bit of a rough patch there, and now they're building on a lot of success? What has been the change in conversations in the dugout and the mentality down there?
I talked to Sal actually after the 3rd inning, I believe it was.
There's a line shot into right field. That'll drop for a base hit. So the opposite field success continues for the Giants. And that'll bring up Will Burgess with 2 outs and runners on first and second.
Davin Whitaker over there in right field has been busy tonight, especially in the first 2 or 3 innings. But yeah, no, I was talking to Sal after the 3rd inning when they were down 8-3, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay. We just need to be consistent. We just have to find that consistency. We're good. We're gonna be good." And so I think he's relaxed, and I think that's what he should be.
The first pitch to Burgess in there for a strike.
I think it was especially clear after the Southern Maryland Senators game on Monday night, the amount of talent that this team has. And even still, they got a new player today.
As Burgess grounds this one to the second baseman, Franklin, and on to first for out number 3. So when we come back here on Big Train Baseball Network, expect fireworks, this time in the sky. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network. As Shirley Povich Field is currently being showered in fireworks, which you all can hopefully see out in right field. A couple of multicolored. A gold. A pink. Another gold. A couple of more gold. I feel like everybody else in the Sandlot, not named Benny Rodriguez, just staring bewilderingly at the sky.
There's something so magical about fireworks. I don't know what it was. I always used to be fascinated by them as a kid.
Are you not now?
No, I mean, I still am. I'm just saying it started when I was really young.
I think especially coming over a baseball park, I mean, what could be better than a night like that? Sitting, watching a ball game, getting to see some fireworks up in the sky.
It's got to be the definition of summer.
Got a nice Chicago dog in your hand from the Catalyst hot dog truck. Perfect evening here at Shirley Povich.
Intern Ian DeMaca would absolutely agree with that.
So it'll be Keenan Bowman leading off the bottom of the 7th, looking to have his Benny Rodriguez moment.
As we have a new pitcher on the mound for the Giants and Mike Costello.
Now, we were told before the game started that not only was the fireworks show going to happen, but the game was not supposed to be stopped as a result. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Mike Costello pitching to Keenan Bowman. Has a look at the first pitch for a ball.
I don't know about you, but if I were at the plate staring at that in the outfield, I don't know how I'd focus.
The 1-0's line to the third baseman, Wyatt, who can't come up with it. So Bowman will reach base safely to start the inning. That'll bring up the catcher, Cole Constable.
Excellent focus from Bowman. He's not letting the fireworks distract him from his game.
I really like the addition of Bowman to this lineup in a more consistent manner. He was getting over an injury, now over that injury, and I was talking to him a couple games ago, and he was so antsy to get back on the field. He was like, I just want to play, I just want to play. But Sal was obviously very cautious getting him back from the injury.
As Constable lays down a bunt, Wyatt fires to first for the out, but Constable does his job moving Bowman into scoring position. That'll bring up Jordan Crosland with one out and a runner on second.
We've talked a lot about that, especially with you on the mic, Kaylee. Those small ball plays, putting the person behind you in a better position, focusing on moving your team forward and not swinging for the fences. We've seen Big Train start to play into that small ball mentality, and they've been seeing a lot of success because of it.
There was a great set of plays. I don't remember which game it was. I believe not the Southern Maryland game, but one before that, where I think 3 people got on base in a row for the Big Train due to bunts. Just shows it's a tiny play, but very effective in that case.
And we saw the Gaithersburg Giants the last time the Big Train met with them over in Gaithersburg, Maryland, use that bunting strategy to their advantage. Bottom of the 9th inning, laid down bunt after bunt to run in or walk in the winning run.
As it looks like we might be close to the grand finale of the fireworks. But on the field, it's likely going to continue. I foresee a big gold sparkler as the finishing firework.
That's a good prediction. I'm just imagining the photos that are going to be taken.
As the 2-1 pitch swung on and missed for strike 2. A little pre-4th of July injection of patriotism here in suburban Maryland.
Especially because we will not be on the field for the 4th of July.
As Crosland will swing and miss for strike 3. Now, if there's anyone that can have a Benny Rodriguez moment, especially with the fireworks out in right field, it's Andrew Williamson.
He was hitter of the week.
Hitter of the week, hitter of the month.
He's been such a huge addition to this Big Train squad, not just at the plate, but also in the outfield.
As a big swing and a miss for strike 1. Perhaps that's what happened in Jake Villar's mind when I gave him that Madison Bumgarner card.
The firework. He was very excited about that baseball card. He mentioned he still has an extensive collection.
That one lined to the second baseman, Powell, and on to first for out number 3.
It looked like his shin guard flew off.
So there will not be any Sandlot recreations tonight, as both teams going scoreless during the fireworks show. I can't say I blame them, as we'll head into the top of the 8th with the Giants still leading 10-8. We'll be back here on Big Train Baseball Network.
juice is in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride the boogie train till the sun comes up. Ride the boogie train, ride the boogie train, ride the boogie train till the sun comes up. Meet me in the corner alone. 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 Boogie down, mix up. Boogie down, fix up.
Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network. As catcher Brandon Kleiman just flied out to the right fielder Whitaker for out number 1. As a few straggling fireworks will close things out. Oh, just kidding. We've got more.
I had my father in attendance for the Father's Day game here at Shirley Povich Field on Sunday. I'm realizing now I should have told him to come out tonight to witness this fireworks display.
I think you all will see exploding lights in the sky at some point in the future together.
He loves the 4th of July. We always put on our own fireworks display in our cul-de-sac.
Wow! We now have triplet fireworks going off in threes and in all different colors.
Not distracting Stevens from the mound at all, sitting in an 0-2 count.
As we have a few goldies lighting up the night sky. Boy, I'm sure Willie Mays is enjoying this.
You know, I love seeing how athletes are able to shut out the rest of the world and focus on their game. Having worked with the Virginia Tech women's basketball team earlier this winter as a writer, just the way they're able to block out people chirping them from the stands and just really focus on their game is truly incredible. As Stevens not letting the loud fireworks display just in his sight line distract him at all from the mound. He's put up 2 outs on the board.
It has now turned purple and gold, the spirit of the Baltimore Ravens. Perhaps closing things out over the right field trees.
Stevens with the opportunity to hold him scoreless for 2 consecutive innings. Giants have not been held for scoreless for consecutive innings at all this game.
Never mind. I've been wrong for a second time. Look at this.
My goodness.
As the great Katy Perry once said, making him go, ah, 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 here at Shirley Povich. As the fireworks have now spread into right center field. The light show's taking over the entire outfield. And that looks to be it.
You can hear some applause from the stadium here at Shirley Povich Field.
As the count now 3-1 on Kleiman. The count now 3-2 on Kleiman.
It's actually Danny Wyatt at the plate right now, number 27.
Remember Greg Marmo from a few games ago? I have been Marmoed. As there's a big swing and a miss for strike 3. So Stevens battling through the fireworks in a 3-0 count. As this game will remain at 10-8 heading into the bottom of the 8th inning. It was a pleasure watching the fireworks show with you all there. Perhaps we can get another in the future. And we might get some more down on the field. We'll be back here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, where Bethesda is still down by 2. As we start the bottom of the 8th inning with Davin Whitaker, the heart of the order due up for the Big Train.
Whitaker had a double earlier tonight, hoping to generate some momentum for the Big Train, who have been held scoreless for 2 consecutive now. Still trailing by 2.
As the 1-0's in there for a strike, that one painting the low and inside corner. The 1-1 to Whitaker. That one grounded to the first baseman, Will Burgess. And Whitaker's out by half a step. Great hustle there.
Incredibly speedy Davin Whitaker. Unfortunately, couldn't make it over to first in time.
So that'll bring up the shortstop Mike Lombardi, the cleanup hitter from tonight, looking for his first big hit of the summer.
Again, he joined the Big Train squad just this morning. Already making a pretty big impact on the team. He's gotten walked 3 times in 4 at-bats.
As the 1-0 is low for ball 2. As that one in there for a strike. Now, something interesting about Mike Costello, the pitcher on the mound, hailing from Media, Pennsylvania, currently playing his college ball at Millersville. The Millersville website lists basically a questionnaire with each player, as that one's fouled off down the right field line. The count now 2-2. According to the website, Mike Costello's pregame ritual is listening to loud music. So he probably would have been the pitcher to call during the fireworks show. Although Jonathan Stevens must like listening to loud music himself before the game, the way he was not phased at all. As the 2-2 off speed is just outside. Waiting on deck is the first baseman, Matthew Westley.
An incredible talent by many athletes to shut out the rest of the world and be able to focus in on the game entirely. The fireworks display lighting up the sky.
As Westley will foul that one off towards the batting cage.
While Jonathan Stevens lit up the strike zone.
Me personally, I would find it hard to concentrate if everything in my left periphery was exploding and lighting up at the same time. But good on Stevens for getting through that. And a great eye there from Lombardi to take his base.
His 4th walk of the night.
So Westley now represents the tying run.
Had a home run earlier tonight, hoping for some similar success at the plate to push this game in favor of the Big Train.
The first pitch to Westley, outside for a ball. As the pickoff attempt unsuccessful at first, Will Burgess thought he might have gotten Lombardi in time, but nevertheless, the count still 1-0 on Matthew Westley with 1 out. The Hokie representing the tying run. Here comes the pitch. That one a swing and a miss for strike 1. The 1-1. That one fouled off over the parking lot on the first base side of the field. The count now 1-2 on Westley. Waiting on deck is Christopher Diaz. As the throw back to first, not in time. The 1-2. That one grounded the third baseman Wyatt, and he gets it on to second for out number 2. Wesley reaching on the fielder's choice. That'll bring up Christopher Diaz.
27, Christopher Diaz.
It's been another ball magnet tonight, getting three walks in 4 at bats. Diaz and Lombardi both played at Tulane last spring.
Diaz grounds this one through the whole base hit. That one getting under the glove of Burgess.
Wesley speeding over to third to put runners on the corners for your second baseman tonight, Landon Franklin.
Landon Franklin.
Franklin representing the go-ahead run, as we are going to have a pitching change for the Giants, as Mike Costello's outing is going to be finished. We'll be right back here on Big Train Baseball Network very shortly.
The juice is in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride the buggy train till the sun comes up. Ride the buggy train, ride the buggy train, ride the buggy train till the sun comes up. Meet me in the corner alone. 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 Boogie down, fix up. Boogie down, fix up. The juice is in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride that buggy train till the sun comes up. Ride that buggy train, ride that buggy train, ride that buggy train till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Till the sun comes up. Ride that buggy train, ride that buggy train, ride that buggy train till the sun comes up. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Say hey baby, I love the way you groove. Hey baby, I love the way you move. Say hey baby, I love the way you boogie down. Hey baby, I love the way you move, boogie down. The juice is in the mix, it'll fix you up. I'm gonna ride that buggy train till the sun comes up. Ride that buggy train, ride that buggy train, ride that buggy train till the sun comes up. Meet me in the corner alone. Meet me in the corner alone. Meet me in the corner alone. Meet me in the corner alone.
Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park. We have both a new pitcher and a new hitter. Aiden Gonzalez on the bump for the Giants, and Jack Guerrero's at the plate for the Big Train.
Gonzalez, a rising sophomore at UMBC. He hails from Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
The 2-0. That one outside for ball 3. So Gonzalez is another sidewinder here in the Ripken League. trying to get out of this jam. The 3-0 to Guerrero's in there for a strike. Again, Gonzalez's UMBC Retrievers got the number 2 seed in the America East this past season, but fell to top-seeded Bryant in the championship. The 3-1 to Guerrero is outside for ball 4.
So Guerrero will get walked during his first plate appearance. An update from around the Cal Ripken League. Crop Dusters win over the Silver Spring Tacoma Thunderbolts 5-0. Southern Maryland Senators, who were shut out by your Bethesda Big Train on Monday 6-0, have won over the Braves 17-4.
So we're going to have a pinch runner for Guerrero. It's the Virginia Tech Hokie Carter Newman.
Pitch running for the Bethesda Big Train is number 38, Carter Newman.
And then at the plate is going to be Emilio Gonzalez.
As we're going to have a quick mound visit between Kleiman and Gonzalez.
The Gonzalez on the mound, not the Gonzalez at the plate.
As Aiden will look to win the battle of Gonzalez's against Emilio. Let's see if he can generate some fireworks to the left half of the field as he's done all season long. Although I don't think the Big Train will mind if he pulled one into the outfield, and we're going to have a mound visit here with Gonzalez, and we're going to have another pitching change for the Giants. So we're going to take another quick commercial break here on Big Train Baseball Network.
Wait for me. Keep watching you when you leave. Something new. Keep hoping you feel this too. Holding on and on and on and on. Hoping I can get to know you better. Living in sweet suburbia. Some fun is all we want. Two kids come alive in a night rush. I'll be the girl next door. You be my summer crush. Yeah, I think you should come and pick me up. 'Cause nothing feels as good as summer love. Move so fast. Here's hoping this night will last. Just let go. We're spinning with our eyes closed. Holding on and on and on and on. Hoping I can get to know you better.
Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network. As the Giants are cycling through pitchers as fast as those fireworks were being set off in right field. This time it's going to be Tanner Sanderoff representing the Hofstra Pride, looking to get out of this jam. A bases loaded one with 2 outs. The first pitch to Emilio Gonzalez is outside for a ball.
Sanderoff, a left-handed pitcher and rising sophomore at Hofstra, hails from Silver Spring, Maryland. His brother Mason plays lacrosse at the University of Cumberland.
The 1-0's in there for a strike.
His freshman season, he pitched sparingly for Hofstra, making 14 appearances, 6 of those being game starts. Worked 25.1 innings, striking out 26 for an ERA of 10.66.
Gonzalez with a high fly ball down the left field line. It is foul. Oh, so close to a potential base clearing hit. But instead, the count will move to 1-2. And you had to think with Carter Newman on first that all three could have come around to score, which would have put the Big Train in front by 1. As the 1-2 pitch is outside for a ball, much to the chagrin of Sanderoff, who thought that was strike 3.
Newman pinch running, hoping for a more straight shot run over to second after taking quite the tumble against the Southern Maryland Senators on Monday.
The 2-2 is swung on and missed for strike 3, and Sanderoff is fired up as he gets out of a bases-loaded jam to keep this game at 10-8. The 21 Pilots fan not stressing out. We'll be right back for the top of the 9th here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Big Train Baseball Network, where Bethesda trails 10-8 heading into the top of the 9th. We've got a few defensive substitutions for the Big Train. Jaden Bastian is now in left field. Christopher Diaz is now in right field. Carter Newman is now at second. And on the bump, it's Kevin Scully out of James Madison University.
Now Stevens on the mound helped keep the Giants scoreless for 2 consecutive. Scully hoping to propel that success further, hold them scoreless for 3 consecutive.
The 0-1 to DiMartino's outside for a ball. Again, a standings reminder, the Giants are 8-6, the Big Train are 7-7. These two teams have split the first 2 games as DiMartino swings and misses for strike 2. The home team has won each game thus far. The Big Train looking to make a comeback and keep it that way en route to a hopeful 2-1 series lead. As that off speed is outside for ball 2. The 2-2 pitch That one hit high and far into left center field, but Bastion's under it for out number 1. So DiMartino is retired. That'll bring up the shortstop, A.J. Martin.
So we said a dangerous bat for the Giants. Recorded a grand slam earlier this game that gave the Giants a huge lead over the Big Train. An 8-3 lead over the Big Train. Big Train able to battle back hard to turn this game into a 10-8 score in favor of the Giants.
The 0-1 is grounded, fielded nicely at third by Bowman, and on to first for out number 2. And that's actually going to be Davin Whitaker at third base, not Keenan Bowman.
So Whitaker moving over from right field over to that third baseman position.
Landon Runyon stepping up to the plate with 2 outs in the top of the 9th. A quick score update from the college game. Texas A&M currently leads Florida 5-0 in the top of the 8th. So I believe if the Aggies win this one, they'll move on to face Tennessee in the championship series. As the 0-1 swung on and missed for strike 2. It would be a clash of titans as the top-seeded Volunteers would look to break the lengthy curse of a number 1 seed failing to lift the trophy at the end of the season against the number 3 seeded Aggies. As the 0-2's outside for a ball. As that one's fouled off.
Scully 1 strike away from holding the Giants scoreless for the 3rd consecutive half inning.
Oh, a bonus firework. Oh my goodness. More bonus fireworks. I didn't know there was going to be a part 2.
I wonder if he still had some fireworks left over. Forgot to send them off with the rest of the show.
So the game will go on.
As will the fireworks, apparently.
As the 2-2 pitch is low for a ball. A little encore performance from the fireworks. As the 3-2 pitch is swung on and missed. That one's recovered by Constable on to first to complete the strikeout. So Scully holds the Giants scoreless. The Big Train need 2 to tie and 3 to win. We'll be back for the bottom of the 9th here on Big Train Baseball Network. Welcome back to Shirley Povich Field here at Cabin John Regional Park, where the Big Train will look to catalyze a game-winning comeback here in the bottom of the ninth, down 10-8. Sanderoff still on the bump for the Giants. Cole Constable leading off the inning. It's going to be 9-1-2 due up for the big train. As the first pitch to Constable's outside. I would imagine that Jordan Crosland and Andrew Williamson will be the ones due up, as it appears that will be the case. The 1-0 to Constable's in there for a strike. The 1-1 pitch in there for strike 2. So Sanderoff sticking with the heater against Constable. Let's see if he makes it 3 in a row in an attempt to put Gaithersburg just 2 outs away from their 9th win of the season, as the off speed is just outside for a ball. That one looked awfully close, but a good eye by Constable. The 2-2 pitch is hit high into shallow center field, as Martin's under it for out number 1. So up comes the other turtle in the lineup tonight, Jordan Crosland. Had an RBI hit earlier in the game. And considering the batter on deck hasn't done much but hit doubles so far this season, Crosland, one of the fastest players on the team, would probably like to get on base. Riveting analysis, I know. As the count moves to 1-1.
Big Train so close. It's coming out with the win, but have been held scoreless for 3 consecutive.
As the 1-1 pitch, and off speed inside for ball 2.
Sanderoff playing a large part in that.
The 2-1 to Crosland. That one in the dirt for ball 3. Once again, Andrew Williamson waiting on deck. One of the hottest bats in the Ripken League. And following him is Davin Whitaker, who not too long ago hit a towering home run over the retired numbers in right field. As the 3-1's in there for strike 2. It's officially money time for Sanderoff and Crosland. Swung on and missed, strike 3. As Sanderoff does a little victory skip after that one, just 1 out away from sealing the victory for the Giants. Looking to keep this game alive is Andrew Williamson. Now, Willie Mays has been a part of many comebacks, not just on the field, but in his life as well. Let's see if the big train can do the same, as the first pitch to Williamson's in there for a strike. The 0-1's fouled off down the left field line and out of play. So Williamson in an 0-2 hole. The big train on the verge of dropping below 500. The 0-2 pitch is grounded, fielded cleanly, and on to first for out number 3. So the Gaithersburg Giants take a 2-1 series lead as they leave the Shirley Povich crowd unhappy, taking this one 10-8. They improve to 9-6 on the season. The Big Train dropping to 7-8. But Phoebe, this was a fireworks show early on. Things slowed up in the latter innings. I mean, what do you think caused the cold bats when really the Big Train needed them the most?
I'm not sure what exactly caused the cold bats or things to get less hot. Obviously, the heat is a huge factor, which I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast. That heat stuck around. It was a dry heat, so even as the sun went down and things started to cool off, they didn't cool off by much. So you're still battling that heat, that exhaustion, that dehydration. We saw them speed across the bases, put in a lot of work to come back by hitting a 4 spot in the bottom of the 4th. I think that just kind of catches up to you with this dry heat, having to stay extra hydrated. I mentioned they had 2 coolers on top of the dugout instead of their typical 1. I think it's just exhaustion from the heat, and also maybe just knowing that you have so much to come back from again and again, as the Giants stayed hot for a long time to reestablish their lead.
Well, I will say the heat was an issue, or at least a perceived issue, for the Boston Celtics, and they went on to win a championship. So it could be a few other things other than the hot weather, but at the same time, the Big Train have another opportunity to get back on track tomorrow, look to start another winning streak. They'll play the Crop Dusters, same time, same place tomorrow night. What are you looking for in their next outing?
I'm looking forward to a continue of the offensive prowess we saw here tonight. We've seen it a lot in this last couple of games. The bats have gotten hot. I mean, they put up a 4 spot in the bottom of the 4th. That just shows the offense is there. So I'm just excited to see that carry over into tomorrow night, hoping that the offense is there when you need it. The bats get hot when they need to and stay hot consistently. We've seen this team battle back from adversity again and again, not just from the plate, but also from the mound. Some excellent pitching tonight from a handful of guys. Jonathan Stephen, I mean, fireworks display just off in his left peripheral vision, but he was locked in. He kept finding the strike zone, and he took care of them. So I'm excited to see that carry over, that focus, that diligence, that ability to fight back from adversity.
7 p.m. tomorrow night, the Big Train will host Crop Dusters baseball, looking to avenge their loss in only from earlier in the season. But it was a fun night. There were fireworks early in the game on the field. They went above us. Unfortunately for either team, they could not come back down. But for the Giants, that seemed A-okay as they walk out of here with a 10-8 victory. It was a pleasure sharing the amount of baseball history that we did on this broadcast. Appreciate Max Martzoff and Jake Villar joining us in the booth once again to talk a little baseball, especially ones that date back to early childhood, and especially the amount of baseball cards that they seem to have collected was a ton of fun. For our production assistants, Lindsey Morin, Jordan Parham, our executive producer, Harrison Myers, and general manager as well. For my broadcast partner, Phoebe Winters, I'm Quentin Corpuel, saying so long from the Juneteenth Classic here at Shirley Povich